Ever since we found out about the death of Osama bin Laden, we've been hearing about the treasure trove of information that was seized during the raid. Now, a year later, some of those documents are revealing what was going on inside the mind of the world's most wanted terrorist. Joining us now from Washington, D.C. is Colonel Mitch Mitchell, up-to-the-minute military analyst, and we thank you for joining us this morning.
Thank you, Michelle. Good morning.
I would imagine for someone like yourself, this is the it find. What was it like to read the words of the most wanted terrorist?
It was just like sitting down across the table from Osama bin Laden and his lieutenants and saying, how did you assess how we did in the last 10 years? And having them tell you in very blunt terms, because the letters and documents are in very blunt language. This is the way we operated, this is what we didn't do well and what we have to correct. I've never had an opportunity to do that in my life.
These documents, I would presume, were relatively sensitive. Why did the government decide to release the documents?
Well, I don't know that they were all that sensitive, at least the ones that were released, because if they were super sensitive, they wouldn't have been released at all. But the government wanted to release these documents for three reasons. First of all, to discredit Al-Qaeda, to confirm what they've been saying all along about them. Second, to show American success, not a bad idea when you happen to be a sitting president in an election year. And third, more subtly, to remind the American people that based on what Osama and his lieutenants did say, that we are still the #1 target. We are the center of gravity, the point at which all efforts should be directed by Al-Qaeda. And that is a wake-up call for the American people not to be complacent, but to be ready.
Well, bin Laden certainly seemed to be pretty frustrated with the way things were going.
He was, and a lot of that was due to isolation. The effects of isolation are clear when you see the leader of Al-Qaeda doing strategic analysis and giving strategic direction, which is fine, but also getting down into the weeds and doing tactical assessments and tactical direction, such as this is how you should take care of your children when you're trying to hide from the enemy. Things like that are left to people at a much lower level, and when you have someone at a higher level doing it, you know that he is isolated and the effects are disintegrating for him and his organization. So it's a bad deal for Osama.
So are you saying that he, at the end, didn't have much control over his own organization?
It wasn't just control, but that part is true. He definitely did not have control over the organizations, and he complained about that. But he felt that the entire Al-Qaeda organization was falling apart, and he, in his isolation, couldn't do what he wanted to do to fix it. He said he was planning to do some things like try to get everyone's in the Islamic world's confidence back in Al-Qaeda and not kill Islamic citizens in attacks by Al-Qaeda. But he also said, I don't trust my allies. I think I have incompetent people out there in the jihadist community. You know, things aren't going well, and he did not offer a complete solution of how to fix it. So we were doing our jobs in the past 10 years and beating him. It was just a matter of time, and it continues to be a matter of time before we take Al-Qaeda down to a much lower level where they're ineffective. But we can't say that that's happening right now. They're still a dangerous enemy.
Just how useful, and quickly here, just how useful do you think the documents were in helping to find other Al-Qaeda threats after they were obtained?
Well, since I wasn't able to see anything that pinpointed them, I can only assume that by the communications and the means of communications that our intelligence people could track where certain messages were going. And so I would say that the people who were people who were getting those messages should be running scared right now and looking over their shoulder, because we're coming after them. Certainly we knocked out one of his chief lieutenants, Anwar al-Awlaki, with a drone attack. And there are other targets that we hit that probably were communicating with Osama, and now we're sorry that they did.
Well, Colonel Mitch Mitchell, up-to-the-minute military analyst, we thank you for joining us this morning.
Thank you, Michelle.